Science Mom, and today we're doing a super fun art project, and I'm so excited to have Julie here. Julie, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Soul from Soul Sparklets Art, and this is a really exciting collaboration we're doing as a part of our awesome animal art camp. And I am so thrilled that so many of you have been creating so far with us. And this is only day 3. But today we're doing one of my absolute favorite things, a dinosaur that Science Mom told me about, and I had no idea this creature existed, because if you had asked me what the longest necked animal in the world was, I would have said the giraffe.
Obviously, right? Well, back in the Triassic, there was an animal that had a neck that was way longer than a giraffe. And real fast, let's say hello. I'm going to pick a few people to say hello to. I see Evelyn and Ashlyn in Texas. We have Dominic and Mom from Central. We have Esther and Ivan watching from Italy, Whitney and Oliver from Virginia, Adam and Rosemary from Illinois. Julie, say hello to a few folks.
Thank you for saying hello, because for some reason I can't see the people's chat. So
well,
I
just
know for anyone that I'm missing, I always try to say everyone's name as fast as I can. So I'm going to just have to go back and say hello to everyone. But
trust me,
okay.
there's lots of love in the chat. I see Arthur and Sophia. We have Evangeline, Wren, Olson, and Mabea from Maine. Lots of places popping in here. It is so good to see you all.
So, I try to stretch the continent. Have we stretched the continent yet?
We have, and we've reached other continents too.
Excellent. So, that is so exciting.
This dinosaur that we're talking about today lived in the Triassic, and Triassic dinosaurs are kind of unusual because they developed right after the biggest mass extinction that has ever happened on our planet. And so the diversity that we see is just incredible. And my favorite of them all is Taneastropheus. And like Julie said, it has one of the longest necks of any animal ever. Isn't that amazing?
I think I was asking you before, how do we know that they didn't just keep putting these bones together one after the other?
That is just,
how do we know that they all belong to this dinosaur?
It's because we have complete fossils where you can actually see this entire neck stretched out, preserved together. And so we know how many vertebrae it had, and they were so long when these vertebrae were first discovered. The scientists who first discovered them thought they were arm bones from a pterodactyl because he didn't think that they could actually be a vertebrae. Isn't that amazing?
That is just incredible.
So you have an art project for us, right? And we're going to get started with the art project, and then I will drop in some science facts about this dinosaur once we get going. So tell us a little bit more about how we can create an art project about Taneastropheus.
So one of the things that I opted to go with today, so you can use whatever supplies you have. So I'm going to be using markers. You can use crayons, you can use colored pencils, whatever your favorite art medium is today, that's what I want you using. The only thing that you need to be aware of is you're going to want to move this up and down. So you're going to want to touch it. So chalk pastels or anything that's going to continue to stay kind of messy, that's probably the only thing you should stay away from. But today, use what you're comfortable with, because what we're going to be doing is creating something that moves. So I'm actually going to pop this off the wall right here to show you how this works. So here is this is how I think dinosaurs should look. But Science Mom told me that really what we have is a dinosaur that looks a little bit more like this, with this gigantic neck. So we're going to have fun creating with paper and this surprise technique. Now, the really, really fun thing about this technique is that you can use it with anything. So you can create a different animal today. I'm going to be creating this incredible dinosaur, and I'd love for you to create one with me. But later on, you might want to create a silly dog with the longest neck ever. So don't let that stop you. Create what you'd like to create today. So what we're going to need first is a single piece of paper. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold it in a way that lets us create a little bit easier. So I'm going to have to remove mine from the wall here, have it taped up. And what we're going to do is hold our paper this way. This is the standing up way. This is what I like to say is the laying down way. So put it so it's standing up, and we're going to make the paper touch its toes. So take the top of the paper and we're going to make it touch its toes down to the bottom, and we're going to fold it. Now, if you get a fold that isn't perfect here, don't worry about it. You don't need a perfect fold here. You're just going for a fold somewhere around the middle of the paper. Now, once you're in this position, we're going to take the bottom part right here, and we're going to fold it back up to this spot right here. So take this flap, and we're going to fold it so it meets here. Again, please don't worry if it's not perfect. You get a fold. See, some of mine is sticking out a little bit different. That's not what's important here. Now, I'm going to use a couple pieces of tape to secure this to the wall so that all of you can see it. So this is our starting point. Now, I'm going to use a black marker today to draw. That's only because it'll show up the best for all of you. Now, you don't need to use a black marker. Use whatever your favorite color is. And we're going to start with the head. Now, the head is going to go above this flap. So see where this center line is? We're going to draw the head here. We're going to draw the body in this part right here. And then when we're all done, we're going to open it up to connect it in a really fun and silly way. So let's start with the head first. So again, pick one side of the paper. You can pick whatever side you'd like. I'm going to pick this side. And we're going to start with a gently sloping line that's going to come around for the front of its face. So start at the top. We're going to come down and come around almost like a letter C. That's the start of its head. Now yours might be fatter, might be skinnier, it might be pointier. Doesn't matter what kind of head that yours has, because even when I draw the same thing, it looks different every time for me. So once you have the front of that nose, we're going to bring this line right here down for the start of the neck, just to the edge of the paper, and then stop it right there. Right here is kind of the chin. So we're going to take this line down just to the edge of that paper, to that fold. So that's how we're going to start. That is our head. Now let's give our head some fun things, right? Any type of eye you'd like today, you can give to your dinosaur. I'm just going to use, I usually like to use rainbow eyes, but today I'm going to have fun just using some really dark dots for eyes, making this dinosaur look almost cartoony. The next thing I'm going to do is give my dinosaur some nostrils, because one thing that my kids tell me a lot is that I always forget to let my animals breathe. So let's take a minute to give our dinosaur a couple of dots for some nostrils down there at the tip of its nose. And then how happy is your dinosaur today? Is your dinosaur really happy? Is it kind of grumpy? I'm going to make mine really happy and draw my line coming up. And then Science Mom is going to tell us more about this dinosaur. So I might be doing it wrong because I might not know the kind of teeth. So one of the fun things about today is I'm learning alongside all of you. But I'm going to give mine a little tooth that sticks out. And then Science Mom can tell me if this dinosaur had this sharp tooth, or maybe it had the tooth that was closer to an herbivore. Okay, so here's this head. Now we're going to draw this body. Oh, Science Mom's popping on. Are you going to let me know? Is this the right tooth?
I have to pop in really fast and just say, if you would like to add lots of teeth, you certainly can. This dinosaur did have pointy teeth, and some of them kind of like a crocodile. Some of them would be sort of outside its mouth when its mouth was closed.
Awesome. So I can make one going up the other way then too, almost like a snaggletooth.
You can. Or because
Excellent.
it's your art project, you can even have a dinosaur with no teeth just for fun because it's all about creativity, right?
I love it. Okay, my dinosaur now has a snaggletooth. Thank you for popping in. Okay, we're going to get going with the body next. Now, for the body, we need the whole body to stay in this spot right here. And this is kind of a narrow spot. So we're going to make it look like this dinosaur is kind of lying down in the way if you've ever seen a squirrel lie down, how their front legs go forward and their back legs go backward, kind of like it's relaxing. That's what we're going to do with this dinosaur. So right here, we're going to pretend that this flap doesn't exist. We're going to just hold it down. And you can see how we're going to do this curved line here for the front of its chest. So come down, just go right over the bump and curve it around for the front of its chest. Just ignore this flap, pretend it's not there. If it gets annoying, you can always tape it down if you want, or stick something on the edge of it so you can draw a little bit easier. Now we're going to come down with the other side. When we come down, we're going to come over the bump. We're going to draw the back and the tail. So watch me first. We're going to come down with this line over the bump, big rainbow line for its back. And then the tail can kind of go right off that page. So now we need to worry about these legs. How much room do you have left for the legs? And this is the amount of room that we have left to fit this dinosaur in. So these front two legs are going to come out this way in front of this chest. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to draw a curved line. So it's come this way, and then it's going to change its mind and swoop under that line. And that's the front of its leg. Now, I hope, and I'm kind of curious if Science Mom can pop on and tell us if this dinosaur is going to have claws or kind of toes that we need to draw. I just want to give all my dinosaurs claws. So what kind of feet should we be drawing?
You could definitely give it claws. So it did have digits or fingers, claws, whatever you want to call them, on all of its limbs, which is one of the things that led to a big debate with Taneastropheus. Because its neck is so long, some scientists said it has to live in the water. It couldn't live on land. But then other scientists said, look at its feet. It has fingers, it has claws, it does not have flippers. So that seems to say that it would live on land. And we'll talk a little bit more about that debate once we get to coloring. But you should definitely.
So I'm going to go ahead and give mine fingers then. So we have this line stuck out here. So from here, bring this line out and go ahead and give it those fingers. Now this is just one leg. We want the other one to be kind of poking out here. So bring another line out. Go ahead and give those fingers and bump it right back into the dinosaur's front part of its body. Okay, so now we're going to do the back half here with the legs. This time the legs are going to go the other way. But we have this tail and we don't want to get the tail in the way. So we're going to pick a spot between the top of your tail and the bottom of the paper. And just put your marker down and draw the tail. So this tail just goes right off the page. And we didn't finish this line here. So we want to imagine, we don't even know how long this tail could go off the page. And that's going to be another question I'm going to have for Science Mom about the tail. So now that we have the tail here, we can do these back legs. So we're going to start a line and it's going to go this way first, and then it's going to change its mind. So right near your tail line, start a line that goes this way, then changes its mind and goes the other way. So that's the back leg. We're going to draw a line that's parallel to this one. So that means it's going to go along those same angles, just like this. And then you know what we're going to add right here? We have those fingers or those digits. So go ahead and add them. Oh, mine ended up really looking like fingers. Yours might be pointier than mine. Really just depends on when I draw it. And then this tail line, we can just bump it right into that leg. I'm going to draw another back leg that's going to be sticking out wherever I have room. And I have all this space in here. So I'm going to draw the other leg and it's going to come out, point for those digits, and then come back in. So we can see both sets of legs. And finally, we're going to join the front and the back legs together with a smile line. So a really long line that looks like it's smiling. So this is the first part of our dinosaur, but we know from what Science Mom has told us that this dinosaur does not have a short neck. It has a really, really, really long neck. So guess what we're going to do next? We're going to open up our paper and we're going to finish the neck. So I'm going to move mine here because I need to scoot it down for everyone to see. So go ahead and open it up just like this. I'm going to put another piece of tape here just so you can all see what this looks like. There we go. So we have all this space here. So anything up here and anything from this area upward, this is all hidden. That's all surprise space. That means whatever you draw in there, you can even give your dinosaur a friend if you wanted. And maybe you could put like a giant dragonfly or what another creature that was alive at that time. But we're going to do this neck first. This side of the neck needs to connect to this line. But we're going to get really silly with this line. Are you ready? So instead of just drawing a line straight down, although you are welcome to do that if you'd like, we're going to get really silly with this line. So take your line and go out and in and out and in, and then connect it right to that line, just like that. That is one side of this dinosaur's neck. Now, unless this dinosaur ate something really, really funny, like a giant pickle, we probably should draw the other side of the neck to go along those same curves. Because if you just took this side down, it looked very different. So we want this to look like a curved or like a snake-like neck. So we want this to connect here, and we're going to follow these same curves. So whatever curves you did for your dinosaur, we're going to come down and go real close to the line without touching, and turn your neck into what looks like a snake, and then join it up right there. So your neck is going to look very, very, very different from my neck, depending on what kind of lines that you drew. You might have one bump, or you might have a whole bunch of bumps. So before we start coloring, we're going to add a few other things. We're going to add a few other things to our background, including some of the plants that existed at that time too. Now, we know that some of these things aren't going to show when this is close. So if you close it back up again, just like this, take a look for any space below this fold. I have some space here. I have some space here. And this is a really good place to put a special kind of plant that grew in that time period. And what we're going to do first is we're just going to draw a big kind of circular line. So we're going to start with a circle or an oval, whatever you'd like it to look like. And then we're going to draw some lines that stick out of this, going straight up and off to the side. So start right at the circle, go over the bump, and draw some lines kind of going off to the side. This is, and I'll let Science Mom talk all about these plants. This particular one, this is one of my favorites. Every single time I go to an exhibit on dinosaurs or anything that happened in prehistoric times, I've always been fascinated with this. So, Science Mom, could you tell them, why are we drawing a bump with some lines? What is this?
This is a type of conifer. There were lots of types of conifers during the Triassic, but there were no flowers. Plants that produce flowers had not evolved yet. So this is a cycad, a surprise cycad, because when you lift up that paper, it's really long. I want to show you really fast one other super cool Triassic plant that you could do that would be good for this surprise art.
Yes.
Is a Lycophyte. These trees had very scaly trunks. They almost looked like big alligator scales on the bark, and they had very long trunks and then these feathery ferns on top.
So like a palm tree, basically, but just different. Like a prehistoric palm tree is what you're going for. And anything that comes from prehistoric times, you almost think that it's got to have more scales, more claws, more fur, more. And that almost looked like if you took a palm tree and you gave it like feet.
Yes, yes. Lycophytes are really cool trees.
Okay, so this looks really little right now. We're going to color this in. I'm going to add some little V's in here to give it some texture. Now, when you open up, try to open this up here. I taped it down really well so it wouldn't come loose. You're going to notice something. It does not attach. So your leaves are sticking up in the air here, and your poor plant bottom is way down here. So we needed to attach these lines all the way down. So if you drew one of those trees that Science Mom was just talking about, instead right here, or even on this side, you would draw the really skinny portion of the tree right here with the nice roots. Draw the top of the tree up here. And then when you open it, fill in this space. So I'm going to show you how to fill in the space with this plant right here. So all we're going to do is we're just going to bring these lines down to connect it. So that when we open this up, and they don't have to be straight. So don't worry if they're not straight, if they get lumpy. But what we're doing is you're actually growing a plant. That's almost how it seems, because it looks really little, and then you open it up and suddenly it's growing. So once it's like this, you can also add some additional lines that go in other places there. But this is the start to a plant. Now, this doesn't look much like a plant because it doesn't have a lot of green on it. So when we color it, you can just add green right along these stems all the way up to get these beautiful looks of the plants. I'm going to show you one more though. When we're talking about these ferns, these almost these giant ferns, we can add those to our scene too, but we want to close it up first. So always close it up when you're drawing a new plant. And I have some room over here, so I'm going to start with just a line. It's going to start over here, and come over here. So always start with it closed when you're adding your background elements. Open it up, and then you need to connect the top portion with that bottom portion. So this is going to come all the way down, and I can even add some more plant life right in the middle. Remember, this is your surprise area. You can add anything silly that you want. And I'm going to make Science Mom cringe in a minute. You can even put a human in there because I'm sure, right? We're going to ride the dinosaurs.
As long as it's time travel, you're good.
Excellent.
Julie,
So if you want a time traveling bunny riding your dinosaur, put it right here in the in that surprise section.
Are you
now I know that Science Mom has a lot to share about these dinosaurs, but the one thing, we're going to color this dinosaur, but before we color the dinosaur and I give the floor over to Science Mom, I want to just show you how to add some colors to this plant to make it look actually like a plant and not like a bunch of spiky black things. And then I'm going to give Science Mom the floor and let her tell you all about this incredible dinosaur. So for this portion right here, you have all these black lines. What we're going to do is you're going to scribble. That's it. So we're going to start at the bottom and scribble up the side of one of them. And as you scribble these lines, they're going to look a little silly at first, but then you're going to flip onto the other side and you're going to start scribbling down. Now you're starting to add something that looks a lot more like a leaf. Now you can use another green and do the next one so that the greens kind of go together. But all you're doing here is scribbling back and forth, going up, and you don't have to even keep this neat. It's the one time that I'm telling you that scribbling is an art form too, and it's a really fun way to add some texture to your plants. So you can play around with your greens here. And for these big long ones, instead of the scribble, we're going to use little tiny lines. So on one side of the line, little tiny lines, and then on the other side of the line, little tiny lines. And then don't just use one green here. Go ahead and layer your colors on top of each other to get some of the look that you're seeing up here. Okay, I'm going to give the floor over to Science Mom, who's going to tell us all about this dinosaur while we have fun coloring, and then you can guess what colors I'm going to be using for mine.
Excellent. I have to say real fast, I hope that you'll do some tree ferns, because tree ferns were a super common type of plant back in the Triassic. And there are some tree ferns around still today. On the island of Hawaii, you can see me standing in a tree fern forest. Look how big those are. Those are all ferns. Isn't that amazing? And they're very similar to some of the fossils that we see in the Triassic period. So now, let me show you some pictures and take you through a quick little guide talking about Taneastropheus. And I'm curious, I saw some good questions I'll answer in just a minute, but I'm curious, do you have any ideas about whether you think this was an aquatic or a terrestrial animal? So type it in the chat if you'd like to weigh in and make a guess. Yeah, does it live in the water or does it live on land? So first, back to the dimensions of Taneastropheus, you can see how long its neck was. By length, this animal had the longest neck of any animal that we know of. More than half of its body length was just its neck. And Sophia asked a great question about, did it eat an anvil? Like, how could it support all that weight? We actually have a couple fossils where there has been soft tissue muscle that was fossilized as well as the bones. And they show a lot of muscle mass down near the tail. So it kind of was like a counterweight to help it support that big, long neck. Now, like I mentioned before, because it has claws, and Bethany asked, how many digits did it have? It had 5, just like you and me. On each of its front legs and hind legs, it had 5 claws. Its front legs were a little shorter than its back legs, which is kind of unusual. And because of that, some scientists argued that it must be terrestrial. It must live on land, and it used its long neck to sort of sneak up and maybe eat animals or fish that were in tide pools. The first fossils discovered were in Switzerland, actually, but it's been discovered in a lot of areas, but the fossils where it's discovered, those rocks are always areas that are near the ocean or the shoreline. That's where it lived. And then other scientists said it had to live in the water because its neck is so long, it wouldn't have made sense on land, but in the water, it's easier to support a neck that size. And I see lots of great guesses coming in. Whitney thinks water is where it lived. Adam thinks it is aquatic. Olivia says it lives on land. We've got lots of great guesses here. You ready for the answer? Well, let me ask you this. How would you tell what an animal ate? Like if you look at the teeth, let's talk about diet, and then we'll talk about where it lived. If you look at the teeth of a cow, which eats grass, look very different than the teeth of a cat, right? Carnivores have sharp teeth, and Tanystropheus had very sharp teeth. It ate fish. But what scientists really wanted to know is, where does it live? And the answer to that is actually in the nostrils. So Julie, I'm so glad that your kids had told you have to include the nostrils, because that ended up being the answer to this question, and it was just answered last year. So if you have a problem, a medical problem, and you go to the hospital and get a CAT scan or an MRI using technology, scientists can see more than they can see with just their eyes, right? Well, paleontologists use the same technique to look at a fossil, because the fossils were smushed a little bit and they couldn't tell where the nostrils were. So they used a scan to rebuild a 3D model of the Taneastropheus head. And they knew that if the nostrils were right in the front or kind of like down on the side, that would indicate that it was probably terrestrial, because most animals, like you think of horses and deer, where are their nostrils? Or a cat, like a lion, the nostrils are right in the front, right? But if you think of a crocodile or a dolphin, the nostrils are on the top. And what did they find? They found that the nostrils for Taneastropheus were on the top, which means it lived in the water. So Jasper is right. It looks kind of like the Loch Ness Monster, mostly in water. That's a good connection to make. And then last but not least, I did want to share one more picture of the Triassic plants, because I bet a lot of you are probably working on coloring your plants right now. I mentioned Lycophytes, these gigantic tree-like plants that had very thick trunks that were rigid and fossilized really well. There are abundant fossils of these trunks, and they had a really scaly appearance. But then the fronds were kind of like ferns, really thin and delicate. There were also giant horsetail-like plants. There were lots of different types of conifers. There were plants that were related to the ginkgo tree that had leaves that were not shaped like pine needles or cycads. There were lots of different types of palm-looking plants, but there was not a single flower anywhere on Earth when Taneastropheus was around, because Taneastropheus lived millions of years before the first flowers developed. Kind of cool, right? And I think I answered all the questions that I saw come in. I'm going to check, see if Science Mom Amber gathered any more. But if you have questions, drop them in the chat really quick, and we will answer them.
So all of you, quick, add some water to the background. Just a line of blue.
That's right. Put a little water in there.
So since there's no flowers, I've opted for bright colors, because I feel like I can't put flowers in the background now that I know that flowers didn't exist at that time. So I've turned my dinosaur into basically a walking flower.
I love the colors. And Math Dad is here with me, and he made a dinosaur following your directions. So I'm going to hold up what Math Dad did. He tied the neck into a knot. That's pretty fun. And we've got some sort of feathers on top of the head and some good prehistoric plants in the background. I like it. Let's fold it up and see what it looks like folded. So there we go. That just looks like
love it.
Somewhat ordinary dinosaur, right? Rocking a good hairstyle. And then, surprise, look at that big neck.
Can I see yours, Melissa?
I can't wait.
So my kids are here today for the first time, and she is not done. So but she's creating also, and she decided to put hers in the water,
nice.
And add all sorts of plants here.
Now, I'm seeing several good comments. Like William says, I thought it should have lived on land. Remember how it had those digits It had fingers on all of its digits, or on its hands and its feet. If I asked you, where do crocodiles live? What would you say? They have nostrils on the top of their head, and they primarily hunt fish and tend to stay near water. But can a crocodile crawl out and be on land? Absolutely. And probably the same thing was true with Taneastropheus because of its feet and the fingers that it had for gripping. So if you don't want to add a line of water, that is okay. Your Taneastropheus could just be going to explore the shoreline. And Layla
So
has a great question. Did they hatch from eggs? They did. They hatched from eggs. And what type of fish did they eat? Asked Lily. That's a great question. Triassic fish, I don't know off the top of my head any specific examples, but there is good evidence that fish were almost all of its diet was fish. Oh, Miles has a great question. Are crocodiles dinosaurs? Crocodiles were around way back in prehistoric times, but they're classified in a different group of animals. Just like insects, if you drew some giant dragonflies or other insects in your picture, there were insects around in the Triassic period too. But dinosaurs is a very specific group of four-legged animals that we've grouped together. And then, great question from Magdalena. Did Tanystropheus live next to Ichthyosaurus? I would have to look that up because off the top of my head, I don't remember if they overlapped in terms of their time periods, but I do believe that Ichthyosaurus seemed to prefer deeper waters, and Tanystropheus fossils are always found along shorelines.
So how fast do scientists think? I mean, do we run zigzag like to escape like an alligator? Like if this thing is like chasing you? Because I feel like you're not going to get away with this neck.
It's a good question. They think that the neck was probably an adaptation to ambush prey. So it's not entirely, it doesn't
So
look
the
like it was
answer
a
is
very,
yes. If humans were alive at this time, you were kind of doomed if you ran into this.
you'd want to be careful, but let's look at the size again. You know, we often think of dinosaurs just by default as being completely gigantic, and many of them were, but this one isn't big enough to swallow a person whole. I still wouldn't want to get bit by it because it had sharp teeth. And there were actually a couple species. There's one that's a lot smaller they recently discovered as a separate species. Ooh, Angela asks, how long do they live? I do not know. I would love to have a time machine and travel back and to be able to study this in person because this animal is amazing.
It's so interesting that now I have this image of this Loch Ness monster / crocodile hybrid.
That's a great way to think about it.
Went to Florida and we were getting a tour by a biologist. He was talking about the differences between alligators and crocodiles and saying that alligators in general, I mean, clearly you don't want to get close to most animals in the wild, but alligators are generally pretty shy and they're kind of quirky. And they're probably not going to bother you. And he said, the crocodiles, though, you got to watch out for the crocodiles because those are a little bit mean, a little bit like bees and yellow jackets. How the bees will mind their own business a little bit. The yellow jackets seem to want to sting you for fun. At least that's how most of us feel. And so I kind of can't help but wonder if this creature, like what temperament did it have?
That's a great question. And a lot of those questions, I don't know if we have answers to. And Peyton asked if it had spikes on it. It might have. You know, if you look at a skeleton of a beaver, you would never know that it had a big, round, flat tail because the skeleton of the beaver, it kind of just looks like a rat tail. So with a lot of our dinosaurs, there could be big surprises. If we ever were able to invent a time machine and go back in time, we might be really surprised.
That's a really good point with the beaver. I know there's a lot of skeletons that I'm always really surprised about that you never would guess. So I think what Science Mom is saying is for all of you dinosaur lovers out there, there are still so many questions that we have. and so many things to be discovered. And someone here might just be the person who figures out these answers. And I'm really excited to think about what all of you are going to do and all of the questions and the problems you're going to solve. And it could be something just like this one. And, you know, in 20, 30 years, someone might be having an art class just like this one. And we get to bring you up on the screen and say, they solved this, you know, this burning question that we had about these dinosaurs. So Science Mom, what's your other favorite dinosaur? Like, what are your top 3?
Oh man, it is hard to pick because there's so many different dinosaurs that I like. But I have to say, I really like Stegosaurus. I think Stegosauruses are an amazing dinosaur. And then the duck-billed dinosaurs are one of my favorites as well.
And I think if anyone missed us talking about this last week about, I grew up just loving the Brontosaurus. That was my brother's favorite. And then they're like, there's no such thing, but there is, but there isn't, but there is. And it just shows you how much scientists, paleontologists are still trying to,
they're still figuring
learn and discover. And they just figured this out last year. You said that it actually was, I mean, that's so recent. If you think about that.
And Katie asked a great question, were the eggs laid in water? And that made me reevaluate, like, do I know for sure that they laid eggs? I'd have to research and see if that has been proven or not. A lot of dinosaurs laid eggs, but some of them might have given birth to live and had the eggs hatch inside. And that's how it happens with lizards today. Some lizards lay eggs, other lizards, the eggs hatch inside and they give birth to live young. Nicole wants to know what color were they? We have no idea what color they were.
Totally this color. I'm sure it was very bright.
Neon pink to orange and red stripes to yellow.
Like a sunset.
Awesome. And it is possible if they did lay eggs, you know, just like sea turtles come on land, Tanystropheus could have come on land to lay eggs, but I'm going to do some research after we're done because now you have made me curious to learn more.
And now I'm really curious too. I still have this Loch Ness crocodile image through my head now. So if any of you love to write, I think that this is definitely a good writing opportunity for you also about what does this dinosaur get up to during the day? What's its temperament? Is it friendly to all the other dinosaurs? Like, what would happen if a dragonfly landed on its head? Like, some animals are just kind of, okay, I have someone riding, and some, you know, they're trying to eat everything very quickly. Right.
And Catherine asked, do they eat plants? We don't think they ate plants because their teeth are all very sharp and seem to be designed for catching fish. They really didn't have molars, which are what you need if you're going to be chewing up plant material. And I love your description of Loch Ness Monster meets crocodile. That's a great way to think of this dinosaur. Now we have a giveaway that we're going to do. Are we ready? Ready for our giveaway?
We are ready. So I am so grateful that we have so many kids who have come to create with us. And not only am I doing a giveaway today, Science Mom is also, but instead of it being the way that it's been for the last couple of days, we're going to do it live. So you're attending right now. You have an opportunity for Soul Sparklets Art to win a 1-month membership inside the Glitter Bombers, where we create projects like this all the time. And I'm going to let Science Mom talk about what she's giving away.
That's right. And I am giving away a scholarship to our Biology 1 class. This class includes 41, I think, or 42, 40-something video lessons that are pre-recorded, plus a whole entire 100 plus pages of doodle notes. It's a full microbiology curriculum. You can get templates to make your own wanted posters for microbes. And Math Dad is going to help us pick a winner right now. We have dropped a link into the chat. We'll give you just a couple more minutes to enter information if you want to enter for the giveaway. And last time it was tied. Half of the winners picked art and half of the winners picked biology. So Julie and I we're innately a little bit competitive, and we're really curious, like, okay, who's going to win this time?
And I'm really excited about this because for all of you who don't know, who are joining, who are Glitter Bombers members already, who are just learning about what Soul Sparklets art is and what we do, my own kids are going to be taking a course with Science Mom this fall.
And so, sorry, can you drop the link in the chat one more time? Because I saw Autumn and a couple people asked, where do we enter it? And we'll put the link in one more time. It'll be on Facebook and in YouTube in the chat. Math Dad is putting it in right now. It just says link and then has a Google form.
And for those of you who want to share your dinosaur with us, there's a sharing thread that's going to drop on the Soul Sparklets Art Facebook page. And maybe I will see if I can get that over on your page as well. Or yeah, so you can see, but on social media, please tag us. I love being able to see what you create. It's just the highlight of my day. And I will respond to each and every one of you who shares your drawing, except for Math Dad, because I'm responding live. And that is just incredible.
Julie, I want to see yours closer up. Can you hold it up to the camera and share it?
I'm not quite done with mine yet. I could go on for another hour. So see, mine is still missing some color here. I went for a lighter color. Now it looks like he's got a different color head. But then when you open it, you see that beautiful transition. So if I was going to keep on going, I'd be adding some more plants. But now I'm loving the idea of adding water. So I slowed down a little bit, thinking I kind of need some shore plants. And I feel like I need some fish. So I'm always really excited because those who have been creating with us this week, we did a hamster ball on Monday. We thought about what would happen if a hamster escaped in its ball and where would it go. So not only did this hamster go to Six Flags, it went into space. I mean, the hamster just went on adventures everywhere. But we also had unicorns in balls. We had an octopus in a hamster ball that somehow got on a plane. So all of the ideas that you are all coming up with, like, this is just the most incredible thing ever. And before I forget, I wanted to share what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to be doing peacocks. So, and for those of you who want to do a different color, this is my oldest, and there actually is a green peacock. So use whatever colors, but that is oil pastels and watercolors, or you use crayons and watercolors. And I am so excited. So I hope we have a lot of entries right now.
How many?
I see Math Dad watching, getting ready.
We have 75 entries. I'm going, so just one entry per family. We'll limit it to that. Yes, 75 already. I'm throwing a link in, by the way, if you want to sign up for the Glitter Bombers. And
yes,
I
so our membership is open. If you're looking for an art curriculum, we would love to have you come and explore with us. We're creating in this art camp all week, though, for free, and I hope you join. I'm so excited, those of you who are tuning in on my page, to have Science Mom and Math Dad here for this really special event. We did one last week, and I kept hearing more Science Mom. And Math Dad, I might have to get Math Dad and get a combo math and science art project as well, and come back if some of you would love that, because we just did fun things like tessellations and all sorts of different math concepts in art. So let us know if you would like to see more like this, and if you like what we're doing and like learning about dinosaurs, and if so, what would you like to see next? So we might have to do a giant watercolor like microbe. I think that would be awesome.
All right, we have our first winner. So number 44 was the random number I drew, and that is Charlotte. It's the only name I got. So Charlotte, you know who you are. We will contact you by email. And
We'll send you an email, and then you can pick either biology, microbiology, or glitter bomb membership. And then we'll pick 3 more. We're going to do 4 in total, and Matt, that's
4.
going to generate
For all
a
of you
random.
who took the time to show up live today, you are lucking out.
all right, number 18 was the next number drawn. That's Lucy Leopold.
Congratulations, Lucy.
Congratulations.
Okay, number 53 just came up. And 53 is Emma Jones.
Emma Jones. Congratulations, Emma.
Yay.
And one more.
Ooh, 72.
Oh, right near the bottom.
Gabriel Matusevich.
Congratulations, Gabriel.
Congratulations to all of you.
Excellent. So we will send emails to those 4 winners just right as soon as we finish this live stream, and we'll have the email will be from both, both Julie and I will be CC'd on it, and then you can just reply back, pick which one you'd like. And I'm going to ask Math Dad to drop a link really quick to our biology curriculum in the chat so that if you're looking for science for this upcoming year, you can check that out. And Brianna says, I loved making the dinosaur with you. Autumn says, we're clapping for the winners. Oh, I love this.
I love to hear that.
Me
And
too.
if you are following along with the awesome animal art camp for the next 2 days, we have 2 more classes left, and there's going to be giveaways on those days also. So if you didn't win today, you're going to have another opportunity to win coming up.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed making your own surprise art, Taneastropheus, and I can't wait to see what you created. So I hope you will email us and or post on social media, tag us. And Julie said that there's going to be a thread on her Facebook page where you'll be able to see not only share yours, but you can see lots of other people's art as well.
And that's really the fun thing, because you get to see all of the things that are possible.
Yeah.
So whether you created exactly how I created today, or you created a penguin with the most, longest neck ever, we love it. We absolutely love it, and are so grateful that you took the time to come.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Work hard,
Bye, everyone.
work smart, everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.